taking a look at the secrets to a happy entrepreneurial life today. And we're going to be exploring that. Now, I need your help today. That's for sure. And the reason why I need your help is my fellow moderators happen to be all at a conference, and it's going to be a very boring room if it's just hearing my perspectives on this. So if you have some thoughts on what it means to be a happy entrepreneur and what really lights your fire, then stick your hand up. I'd love to invite you to the stage, and so we can get a discussion happening, because one of the things I love is hearing from other entrepreneurs like you, and hearing about them and your perspectives and your journey on what it means to be an entrepreneur. Can I just share with you my views on this topic? It said in the blurb at the beginning, it said, being an entrepreneur is one of the most stressful jobs anyone can decide to pursue. How can you achieve success in both your personal and your business life so you lead a happy life? And that's a really interesting challenge. How can you actually balance both your personal and your business life? And how can you have a vision or a sense of direction, a sense of purpose for both of them? And it's a very big challenge to be able to do that sort of thing. And particularly when there's demands upon your life as an entrepreneur, not just in the business sense, but in the personal sense. Like when you're facing getting that really big deal, which is going to take your business to the next level, or you're going to go to one of your kids' ball games, which is it going to be? And you end up having to make some challenging sacrifices at times. And not all of those sacrifices are pleasant to make, I must admit. Like when I look back at my own life as an entrepreneur for the last 40 something years, it's been a challenge during that time as I faced like decisions about what will I do with my family, what will I do with my business. But there's one thing for sure. I love what I do. I get up at 5:30 most mornings, and I just jump out of bed. Like I'm so excited because it's a new day and there's gonna be great things happening. And it's a fantastic experience. It really is. I find just leaping out of bed. And and I stop around about 7 p.m. each night. So I go from 5:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And the reason why I do it is because I love it. I absolutely love it. There is nothing like being an entrepreneur. And it was interesting. I had a conversation with some of my work colleagues over the last few days. And the question really revolved around, what do we love? Why do we do what we do? And I had the team together yesterday. Actually, it happened to be in a Zoom meeting. And we had that conversation of why is it that we do what we do? And what really lights our fire? What gets us going each day? And it was a fascinating conversation to hear the different perspectives and the way each person in the team viewed themselves and how the way they viewed themselves contributed to the whole. But it was like they were excited about exploring what they loved, and each person began to do that. And it brings an enormous amount of happiness for me just hearing my different team members expressing their thoughts on this. But anyway, it's like I said, I love what I do, and I'm incredibly happy. My kids are much older now; they're in their mid to late 20s, most of them anyway, and I have a great relationship with them. So, what did I actually do? Just before I do that, if you're in the audience and some of what I'm talking about is beginning to resonate with you, please don't make it a one-man show. Put your hand up, because I'd love to hear from you and get your thoughts. Maybe we can bounce some ideas around together, and it'd be great to hear from you. Yeah, so anyway, so it was just a conversation with my team this week to find out why do they love what they do. Like, to give you an idea, some of my team members have been with me now for 14, 15 years. And it really is a great privilege as an entrepreneur to have people with you for that length of time. But anyway, I'd like to be able to switch across to Yvonne. Tell us, what is the secret to a happy entrepreneurial life for you? Or do you have any questions on this topic? So Yvonne, welcome to the stage. No? Yvonne's not on the stage. Okay, there she is. You
Yeah.
made it. You made it. Well done, Yvonne.
Yeah. Hi, Michael. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever everyone is. Yeah, I hope you've all had a good day, or having a good morning, or having a good afternoon. And I think being the entrepreneur happy life, enjoying the entrepreneurship life, or the thought of becoming an entrepreneur wherever everyone is on their journeys. So my background, so I've been a business and economics teacher for over 35 schools. I've taught in different types of schools in England, and I started an ed tech company a couple of just under 2 years ago with a co-founder who has a background in sales, selling into schools, university, colleges, public sector. And it's the business picked up. We've built a prototype. We're having some really engaging conversations. It's full on. Give you an idea, Michael. I used to wake up at 5 o'clock. I'm now waking up at about 4:30 in the morning, just to work on me. So I spend about an hour on me, just loving myself. So I'll read something or listen to something, and then do a little bit of exercise, just to love on me a little bit before the world comes on. And then because I'm still working, we're bootstrapping, so I'll then go on to my full-time job. But then in between, I'll be arranging meetings after work. I have lots of meetings, ongoing meetings. Today I had a fantastic meeting with a lady who's a big champion. She runs a big organization in London, and her role is literally just connecting people within different sectors of business. So that's the kind of thing. Like, lots of different meetings, really productive, aligning everything up. One of them, another meeting, for example, with a really good big accelerator. So yeah, so there's a lot going on top of that as well. I've got my two teenagers. And then there's the other side where you've got to play the other part as well, and be the good partner. So there's a lot going on. But you will not believe this, Michael, everybody else. My partner said to me the other day, I don't know how you keep going. You always seem to have energy. I think when you're just passionate about what you do, you take care of you. It just doesn't feel like you're doing a lot. Everybody around you goes, "Oh my God, you've taken on so much. You're doing so much. How do you do it?" But you just don't. You don't feel it. You don't see it. I don't feel it. I don't see it. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just loving on you, so that your cup is full, so that you can bring the best of you onto the table, and like taking just 100, like literally 100% responsibility of everything. No blame, no shame, no gaming. It's all on the table. Everybody knows this is me. This is what what I'm about. No filters, no games. And it just makes everything so much simpler, so much easier, so much energy, because the mental side is just so clear. I think that's what it is for me. I'd love to know what it is for other people. Back to you, Michael. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Not a problem, Yvonne. It's great to hear from you. Yeah, I think what you're talking about there is one of the things that really gets you excited and happy is the mental challenge. The mental challenge of running your own business. And can be really challenging. Quite often, like entrepreneurs are juggling so many balls, aren't they? Like, do you find that's for yourself there, Yvonne? It is the mental challenge of trying to go along and come to grips with what it means to run your own business? Is that what it is for you that makes you really actually excited and happy and wanting to work so hard?
Yes, 100%, Michael. It's knowing who I'm becoming through doing it, and who I am in the doing it. I don't know if maybe let me explain that a little bit. I want to know just how much better I can be as a person, through everything. So if I come across something and within myself, I don't feel, like I have this feeling where, oh my God, why did that go wrong? Or I'm beating myself up. I'll go into, okay, what is going on for me? There's something I need to sort out. So yes, definitely, it's the who I am, because I always tell myself this big dream you've got, because in the back of my mind it's the kind of size of business that we want to build, and what we want to achieve within education is so super huge. So I always say to myself, you're going to be running a business, you're going to have that corner office at the top floor of a 100 floor building. If you can't handle this, how are you going to be able to handle that? And I'm always constantly, saying to myself, yep, you're learning this so that when this
Oh
comes,
my
you can be able to
God.
handle it. So that's kind of like that's my mantra. But then the other thing that keeps me going is, before setting up this business, I went through a lot as a teacher, because what we don't realize is, just as teachers, we're always dealing with so much. And then being a teacher, we're taking on a lot, because the thing with children, they're precious, but children take a lot. Anyone here who's a parent, we're always giving more, because that's the role they need to take, so that when they get older, they can give. And when you're surrounded by children all the time, your energy, you're constantly in giving mode. Um, and then you also have your own life as well. So when you're training up as a teacher with all the extra added pressures, it's very difficult. So as a statistic, one in 8 teachers get diagnosed with a mental health condition every year. So I've gone through that. I know the way the education system is at the minute. It's very archaic. It's set up for the industrial era. Not a lot has changed. And a lot of edtech products, they've got best intentions, but a lot of the time they add on more, because what a lot of them tend to do is create more challenge. So it's like an extra
Yeah.
thing teachers have to do.
They
And so
actually, I agree with you. Like Yvonne,
yeah,
is that
yeah.
it's the education system. Is it made for entrepreneurs? No, that's for
No,
sure. And
not
it's
at
all
all.
about the challenge
Yeah,
of the mental challenge of running your own business. That it's I find it so exhilarating. It's one of the things that I just love to be able to do, is to be able to go and sit at my desk and think, wow, what problems am I going to solve today?
yeah.
And that's just an exciting thing. So, can I just say thank you, thank you, thank you, Yvonne, for your great input just then. I really do appreciate that. I'm going to jump across to Latifa. Latifa, welcome to the
Hi,
Complete
how are you?
Entrepreneur. And it's great to hear from you. And Yvonne, don't go away either, but we may bounce around a little bit as we explore this topic. But Latifa, what have you got to say about the secret to a happy entrepreneurial life?
I wanted to jump in on this conversation. Like I said, my name is Latifa Cooper. I am the founder of Cheeky Pineapple. It is a store that is opening in June in Essex, in Colchester, Essex, in the UK. But what brings me to where I am now with Cheeky Pineapple, it's right now I'm at 35 years old after having working in every industry under the sun. I was a makeup artist. I sold EHS software. I worked in all types of offices. I did real estate. And I've done all these roles. And what I did every day at work was spend my time looking at clothes. I was like, how can I find a way how can I just figure out how I can look at clothes all day? Because that's what makes me so happy. If this was the basis of my job, of what I was doing, how can I do that? This is all I want to do. And I knew this back when I was 18 and I studied political science. I did all these things around what I truly loved doing is shopping, is showing people amazing new clothing, giving them a great outfit, picking out great things to wear. I loved working in retail, but I knew that wasn't a career path that I wanted for myself. I wanted to own the store. And for so many years, like people would tell me, like, that's really cool. Oh my gosh, that's great. But they didn't talk about it as if it was a realistic thing. And now that I have all these different types of work experience, I'm able to dive into that now. And what I want to say to somebody who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur and you're not sure what you want to do, if you find yourself doing something else at work, do that. Make that your business. Find a way to make money from that, because that's what's gonna keep you happy every day in what you're doing. And I know people say this to entrepreneurs, you've got to love what you do. And it's not just loving what you do, it's loving the industry and understanding that industry and how you can grow in that industry. If you're, like I said, I wanted to, at first I just wanted to look at clothes all day. Then I was like, I want to manufacture clothes, or I want to do that. And I learned about as much as of the fashion industry as I possibly can, and buying and all sorts of things like that. And I took and looking back on it now, every single job that I've had, I've looked at it as a way of, let me kill more time and learn what I can from this to prepare me to be a great business owner. How is this going to prepare me in running my own store or starting my own business? Like, make sure that if you are unsure of what it is that you want to do or how you want to go about it, choose a path, choose a role, choose a job, the next place that you're looking to work before you become an entrepreneur. Make sure that is in some way aligned with what it is that you want to do. And if it's not, use that time that you're in there to pull from it any type of information to prepare you to in your entrepreneurship journey, create relationships and things like that. That's what keeps me going every day when I'm in front of the computer for 12 hours, building a website or uploading inventory or looking for staff or going through hundreds and hundreds of different sample pieces that I might want to put into my shop. This is what keeps me going. It's taxing, but I know that I can't go back to working. So that is something that keeps me grounded. Whereas frustrated as I am with technology or social media marketing or anything along those lines, I know that I want to show everyone these amazing clothes. I want to make sure that people are dressed nicely and have access to everything, and everyone doesn't dress the same. And I do that by looking at clothes all day. So that's my 2 cents. I hope everybody is able to take something from that, and just keep in mind that don't lose track of what you really want to do and what really makes you happy, because there is always a way to make money from something that you love. Thanks, guys.
Oh, Latifa, what a great story. The cheeky pineapple. I love it. Love it. Yeah. And your passion comes out. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they actually quite often say the same thing. It's their passion which really becomes their happiness. And they're so happy about what they're doing because they're just so passionate about it at the same time. Yeah. And you get someone like Yvonne who's up at 4:30 in the morning and working late hours as well and everything. And why does she do it? She's so passionate about it and she loves the challenges and everything. And as you articulated, Latifa, you said you're dealing with so many different things all the time and that sort of stuff. And it's a big challenge being an entrepreneur. But you know what? There's nothing like it.
There's
Anyway,
nothing
good.
like it. There's nothing like it. Like that feeling of knowing that you're the decision maker. You are the one who's going to point this in the direction. Like every time you've criticized someone, oh, like myself, oh, I would have laid my shop out differently and I would have done differently with my branding and I would have done my logo differently. You can make all those comments, but not until you're doing it and you're in the struggle with the rest of the entrepreneurs, because it's a struggle and it's very lonely. And then unless you're in the struggle with them, you can't really take that time to criticize anyone. Find out how they did it and do the same thing. And that's going to continue to make you happy and cheer everyone else on too. That's one thing I love doing.
Oh, absolutely. Be grateful for what you have and cheer other people onwards. I think one of the keys to being a successful entrepreneur is actually celebrating other people's successes and let their successes inspire you forward. And I must admit, that's something for myself is so important for me. I love seeing frenemies, competitors, even doing well. You know, actually, because it inspires me forward. Inspires me forward. Yeah, I think that the most incredible thing I found over the years being an entrepreneur, and the thing that I just love about it so much, is it's a whole life experience. Like when you go to work, quite often, not always, but when you go to work, you got your job, and you 9 to 5 or whatever it is, and you leave and you go home. And not every job's like this, obviously, and so this is a generalization. But you go to work, you come home, and that's it. But an entrepreneur is 24/7. And even if you're not at your place where you're working, whether it's your store or whether it's your factory or whether it's your office or whatever it is, even if you're not there, you're still thinking about it. And you're sitting there, you could be having dinner with friends or something like that, and you're thinking in the back of your mind about what you need to do on Monday and all that sort of stuff. Why is that the case? Is there a point of stress? Yeah, it could be in some circumstances, but it's also because it's so unbelievably fun. And I find for myself, the entrepreneurial journey is all about exploring life for me. You see, the adventure of life is not how much money you finish with at the very end. To me, the adventure of life is discovering who I am. And the best way I've found to do that is to become an entrepreneur. Because being an entrepreneur, I'm going to be challenged in so many different areas of my life, and quite often simultaneously. And every now and then you'll hit a problem which is insurmountable. And you got to work at, like, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that from a, say, business perspective? But how do you deal with it from an emotional perspective, still with a smile on your face? Because you know what? The journey is so much more exciting. I remember seeing the movie Parenthood many years ago, and it's a great movie. It's an old movie now. I think it was one of Keanu Reeves' very first movies he did. It was a fabulous movie. But there's this one scene with this old elderly person, and she said, "Some people like the merry-go-round of life. I prefer the roller coaster." Yeah, and it's sometimes I find if I'm on the merry-go-round, am I happy? Yeah. I got my kids there when they were younger. Yeah, that was a bit more fun, obviously. But you know what? Being with your kids on a roller coaster, or even if you're just yourself on a roller coaster, is next level. And I find that's a great illustration of the way I view life, of next level. I want to be on the roller coaster. There's going to be lots of ups and downs and stuff like that, but man, it's going to be exciting and it's going to be exhilarating and going to have a great time. But anyway, you're listening to The Complete Entrepreneur, and we're discussing the topic of the secret to a happy entrepreneurial life. If you're sitting in the audience right now and you're saying, you know what, I'm just going to share this story, or I'm going to ask this question, or whatever it is, please don't leave me hanging. Stick your hand up. Love to hear from you, like we heard from Yvonne. And so stick your hand up, and we'll invite you to the stage, and let's have a really good discussion about this topic, because it's one thing to get stuff from, say, just a few people. It's another thing to get it from the whole community of entrepreneurs, because each one of us has a different story to tell. Don't we, Yvonne?
Yeah, Michael, I was going to ask, is it worth asking what does it mean to be happy? Because different people have like different ideas about happiness.
I think you're completely right. And the other question I ponder a lot is the difference between being happy versus being fulfilled.
Oh,
That
yeah,
actually
that's a
can be
good
quite
one.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And try to explore those two things there. And what is happiness is another really interesting question. Is happiness having the biggest pile of cash, the biggest bank balance? And by the way, I'm not against earning money. Like, to be quite blunt with you, I think it's very important that every business is profitable. Why? So they can be sustainable. If you're not profitable, eventually you're going to be out the back door. So if you want to be sustainable, you've got to be profitable to keep an eye on the bottom line.
And
But
kind of positive.
yeah, exactly. So it's the question is then, is that the source of your happiness? I mentioned something earlier on in the conversation where I said that money will not bring you happiness, and the fact that money is an outcome of what you're doing that is making you happy. Money is the outcome. And by the way, money can also buy you some happiness as well, so don't get me wrong, but it's not the reason why you're doing it. And let me share with you the story I did with my team. We had a Zoom conversation, and I posed this exercise. It was actually quite an interesting exercise. I said, in a lot of tribal communities over the thousands of years and everything like that, they would have a totem would represent a person. Like it was epitomized in the movie Dances with Wolves, where you had Kevin Costner's character was his totem was a person who dances with the wolves, or then you had stands with a fist was another character, and it was a totem. So I posed to my team, and something you may want to do with your own team. I said, look, what is the totem that represents you? What is that totem? And it was a really interesting conversation. So we had one of the developers said he was a giant boulder, and he just slowly rolls down a hill, crushing all the bugs and all that sort of stuff in the programs, and just keeps on moving. And another developer said, I'll pick a few of them off. Another developer said, yeah, I'm just an ox. You can load me up and you point me in a direction and I'll just keep on going too. Yeah, just load me up with stuff to do. And another one said, I'm an eagle, and he was in sales area, and he swoops down and grabs a new client and drops him in the nest, and the first thing he does is leaves the nest to go and find another one. Yeah, and then another guy said, I'm an explorer, and what I'd like to do is been given a paddock or a field to play in, and be told, go and dig up some data on that particular issue. So he said, I love exploring like spreadsheets and things like that, and lots of numbers. I'm an explorer. And it was a very interesting conversation. And I related the fact that I viewed myself more as a pillar of fire, heading in the right direction and everything, and all consuming an entrepreneur is, and just burning my way to the vision, towards that vision. But what it showed us was the interactions between the different groups. So you had the eagles interacting with the boulders, and they began to get some insights into why there could be friction those times, which is not very happy. And then suddenly everyone began to smile. They realized some of the interactions. And so we had a situation in our team where there was a negative interaction. And I highlighted the fact it wasn't actually a negative interaction. You're just being a boulder. You're being an ox. And you're interacting with someone who's, say, a pillar of fire. And everyone began to smile, and they began to understand their contribution to their overall vision. And that's the thing I found was really interesting, is that people are really happy when they understand their role in the greater picture. And as entrepreneurs, one of our jobs is to actually illuminate what their role is. And it's something that's really fascinating to see the light come on in each team member as they begin to understand the role they're playing. They're not in isolation, but they have a significant role. And through being significant and that understanding comes an incredible amount of joy and release. That, you know what, there may be some friction between the boulders and the eagles or something like that, but they now understand what that is, and they still have the conversations with a smile on their face. Very simple exercise, but a very profound understanding can come from. And it comes down to the root of what makes individuals in your team happy, and as an entrepreneur, what makes you happy? So the question I have to ask you is this: what are you? What is your totem? What is the thing that you really are as an entrepreneur? Are you also a pillar of fire? Are you a boulder, an irresistible force? Are you a laser? Are you a bear? Are you a lion full of courage? What is it that represents you? And you can only choose one. What is it that represents you? And in that process, my guess is you're going to get a lot of insights about who you are as a person. And when you begin to understand who you are as a person, as an entrepreneur, I wouldn't be surprised you discover what really makes you happy. And that's an exciting journey to go on. To me, that's what life is all about. But you're listening to The Complete Entrepreneur, and we're discussing a really interesting topic: the secret to happy entrepreneurial life. If you're in the audience and you want to go along and say, have a story to share, or you have some questions to ask or something like that, please, I really want to hear from you. Today, all my other moderators are at a conference, so it's just me and Yvonne, which is great. And it's wonderful to have Yvonne here. So, Yvonne, just while we wait for people, if they're going to be brave and put up their hands so we can invite them to the stage, a question for you: what is your totem?
Oh, my totem. I think it's the opportunity to leave a legacy. I think my driving force is if I can show my children what's possible. I came to the UK with £100 in my pocket and a £6,000 debt, and
So,
I'm
so Yvonne,
now
I'm going to push you on this a little bit. I'm going to push you. If you
yeah.
could choose an object or an animal or something like that, what is the thing that represents
Oh,
who you are? What is the thing you think
Oh,
you're sitting there and you're going, gee, I don't really know. Maybe it's a flower, maybe it's a tree with deep roots. Maybe what is it that encapsulates it? Because when you begin to get that picture in your mind,
yeah.
um,
I
it's
think being
suddenly a lot of things are
African,
belief that
sorry, Michael.
come into
Um,
place.
yeah, so I think being African, I don't even need to think about it because when I was born, I was already given an animal. So my animal is a monitor lizard.
A monitor lizard. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Uh,
so that's my home name. Yeah, so that's the name my parents gave me.
So you're a monitor lizard, and what does that
Yeah,
represent?
I'm a
What does
monitor
a
lizard.
monitor lizard represent for you?
So let me like give you what the name is first. Are you brave enough to
Sure,
say it? Nambulu.
Nambulu.
Yeah. So that's my name. That's my home name. And it was my grandmother's home name. So it represents it's a legacy, first of all, because it's the name that belonged to my grandmother, and I'm therefore named after my grandmother. So I carry the torch of my family wherever I go. So that's one thing first. Yeah. So it's in everything I do, there's always that background behind me. It's not just me, but I come from somewhere. And the success that we would have, it's a community success. The second thing, I being a monitor lizard, I'm very comfortable near the water, meaning I can choose to move like a river. If I find any difficulties, I go around like a river. Yeah, so I can either go around the boulder or just take time, and eventually I'll beat through and the stone will either break or it will wear down. um
That's great.
yeah.
That's great. Mabulu, yeah, I think it's fabulous that you've got this picture in your mind. And what would be interesting to reflect on, Yvonne, and I'd encourage you to do this in your own time, is how does that monitor lizard reflect how you behave as an entrepreneur? And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a relationship between the two. And it's something which can be really exciting to explore. So I just want to ask some more questions, maybe of the audience, and share some of my experience with it, with these things. The question I have is, where's your happy place? Where's the place you go to be happy? And is that your work, or is that the sad place, or is it at home, or is it at some down the beach? Like, where is your happy place? Where's the place that you can go to and say, you know what? I'm feeling really good about life right now. It just seems to bring back like a whole lot of memories. Could be a place from your childhood, because I actually find as an entrepreneur, I need my happy place. There's times as an entrepreneur and you're hitting a whole lot of challenges, one after another. And what you need to do is you need to retreat to your happy place so you can think and really spend some serious times thinking. I do this on a periodic basis. My wife tells me I become unbearable to live with. Why? Because I'm like a bear with a sore head. So I'm going from place to place. I'm grumpy and all that sort of stuff. She says, you're going to need to get out of here and go to your happy place for a couple of days and get your head right. And it's amazing. Like when I go to my one of my happy places, or I have my happy time as such, what I end up doing is I have my laptop and I open up a Word document and I dump out into the Word document all of my stresses, all of my frustrations, and I get them out of my system. And sometimes that can take a whole day. Like I am typing furiously. And just for the record, this is one document no one gets to see. Yeah. And I just get it out of my system. And I find that in that process, and I could come back to the same thoughts over and over again. I'm just getting all this that negativity. I'm getting all that pain, all that, like I said, frustration. I'm getting out of me. And when I get all of that anger and stuff out of me, what's left? Only the good stuff. And I take a deep breath, and I begin to have a clear head. I find, And in that process, I begin to really think. And I think about what really makes me happy. And it's actually incredibly therapeutic. If you're an entrepreneur right now and you're in the audience, you're saying, how do I become happy? I'll tell you what, sometimes you've got to go away and dump out all the crap out of your life and dump it into a Word document, notepad, scream at the world, at the sky. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever it is, you got to get it out of you, because entrepreneurs carry enormous numbers of burdens in their life. And like when I say enormous amount, you know what it's like to be carrying, oh dear, I've got to worry about making payroll this month. How am I going to make payroll? I've got to worry about dealing with that supplier. I've got to worry about dealing with those particular clients, and they're asking impossible things to do. You know what it's like to carry all those burdens, to deal with a staff member who's complaining about there's wrong sort of cookies in the tin in the tea room, and you've got to now fix that. Yeah, otherwise they're going to go along and get all upset. Yeah, like just crazy things you're having to deal with, and there's one burden after another burden, and then you look at some other friend of yours who's an entrepreneur, or they just got a normal job and they seem to be so successful, and the frustration of your circumstances just builds up in you. You know what? If you leave that there, you're going to become unbearable to live with, and you've got to get it out of your system. And I can just share with you, after, let me think, 40 years of being an entrepreneur, what I do. And I go away for the length of time I need to go away for. It could be 2, could be 3 days, could be even longer. And I just dump all the crap out of my mind. And initially I find, because I give myself permission to do this, that it just gushes out. And my fingers are type. I type about 120 words a minute, so I can really type. And I'm just flying across the keyboard, and it just all just pours out. And it's like a poison inside of you as an entrepreneur, and it gets all out. And when it's all out, that's when you can begin to really think, and to think about what ultimately makes you happy. And I come back from those times, and they're really actually very special times for me. And I come back and I'm at peace. I'm at peace with myself. And as entrepreneurs, the most underrated emotion is peace. Out of all the things that can make you happy, peace is the number one thing for me. And I'm at peace with myself. My wife gives me a great big hug, and my kids gather around because they've now got their dad back again. They don't have this monstrous freak that is being almost like tortured with all these things racing through his head and everything like that. Yeah, and I'm at peace, and I find that I'm very centered around myself, and I know exactly what I need to do in my business. I know exactly what I need to do in my personal life. I know all those things. And what? If you've ever been in a situation in your life where you said, yeah, Michael, I just need to get that peace, then it could be that you're running 5,000 miles an hour and you've got all this vitriol inside of you. I just need to get it out. And that's the best thing I can ever do. And it's a great thing. If this resonated, that story resonated with you, then please stick up your hand. I'd love to hear from you and some of the stories you have. How do you find happiness in your entrepreneurial journey? What is it that you do? Yeah, it's these sort of things which I find are a part of the adventure of life that I talked about earlier. Is every time I go away and I come back, I've learned something more about myself, and that is the adventure. And it's one of the most exciting things I find I can do, and it's one of the things that makes me ultimately the happiest. And yeah, so where is your happy place?
How
That's
regularly do you find, Michael, you've got to go away?
I typically go away about between 1 to 2 years. It's not very often, but it's necessary. And it's interesting when you talk to when you look in and you read other entrepreneurs like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all these great entrepreneurs, they do exactly the same thing. They actually go away. And they go away from the office. I think Bill Weeks calls it his study week or something like that. And he goes away and he just spends time reading and writing notes and things like that. And he's been doing that since he very first started Microsoft. Yeah, it's a really important thing to do because it gets you more focused. If you want to become a really sad entrepreneur, it's really simple. Go along and chase every single opportunity. Yeah, there's a great saying, the enemy of the best is the good. What it means is there's going to be lots of good opportunities come across your desk as an entrepreneur, and you'll get excited about all these. The question I ask you is, what is the best opportunity? When I go to conferences overseas, and before COVID, I used to do a lot of traveling. Um, when I come back on the plane, and I got typically a 16-hour flight to head back home, here down to Melbourne, Australia. I come back on the plane, and I would then write down all the opportunities, and there'd be pages of them for the conference. Amazing opportunities, like phenomenal opportunities. And the thing I would do is I go through and I begin culling them. Because you know what? You as an entrepreneur cannot do everything. If you want to become a very sad entrepreneur, then try to do everything because you can't. It's impossible to do everything. So I go along, cull the list down to about 5 of these. It could be pages of opportunities. Of the 5, I go and send them through to my business partner with my thoughts around those 5. I didn't want to waste his time with the other couple of pages. Here's the 5. And then by the time I've landed and we've come back and the next day, we'll discuss which one we're going to pursue. And we focus on that one opportunity. And then we focus on the next one once that's secure. You can't really earn very much money from a half completed job. If anything's going to make you sad, that will. So focus is another thing I found through my entrepreneurial journey, which makes me happy. Yeah, it's there's nothing like it. You get focused, you complete the job, and you start to realize the gains, the economic gains from it, and you move on to the next one, and then the next one, and so forth like that. And I've also found that in my entrepreneurial journey that I can actually tackle between about 1.3 really big creative endeavors at a time. I'm talking about really do them well. For instance, a person asked me recently, have I finished my second science fiction book? So I've written a science fiction book. And I said, no, I haven't. And they said, why is that? And I said, that's because I'm focused on developing this great big system that's going to be doing lots of awesome things for clients and everything like that. And I don't have the mind space for this other creative activity, which is writing my second science fiction book. Yeah. And you say, why 1.3? Because I know I can do more than 1, but I can't do more than 1.5. So 1.3 is about in the middle there. But it makes me happy when I've gone along, I've done something, and I've completed it. So if you want to go along and become a very sad entrepreneur, it's really simple. Just try to do everything. Try to chase down every opportunity. Go along and have awesome conversations that never result in anything. Go and blow your brains out with trying to go and continuously chase that carrot which never lands. Yeah, I remember having a really big international company come to me, and they said, "Hey, we'd like you to go along and test your domain traffic out with us." I manage domain traffic. And we've done this a few times before with them because they're big and everything, and you hope for great things. And we found that our systems just blew them away in terms of performance. And this time I said to them, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. You can put your traffic with us. And they said, but we're really big and we're a multinational, and you need to like come and kiss our ring almost. And I said, no, I am not going to waste my time. I want to be focused, and that's a waste of time. And I was very upfront with them about this. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. And when you're focused as an entrepreneur, let me tell you, you get stuff done. When you go along, weed out the tire kickers from the real opportunities, and then you focus on the real one that's going to give the maximum value to your business, you know what happens? You become happier. You become happier. So I'm going to ask you a question. When was the last time you fired a client? I was running an ISP many years ago, and we had obviously a help desk. It was in the 90s, and we had this one particular client, lady. She was absolutely painful to my support team, and rude and obnoxious as well. And so one of the support people turned to me and said, "What do I do?" And there was almost like tears in her face and everything. I said, "Give it to me." So I said to her, "Look, we've decided that we can't possibly meet all your objectives and all your expectations and everything like that. Therefore, here's a list of some of our competitors we would recommend you go to." And she said straight away, "I'm not going to get as good a service out of them as I am out of you." And I said, "Then shut up and listen to what we say." Yeah, sometimes we got to be really blunt. We end up having her years and years, and she became a joy to work with. Sometimes you've got to be upfront with people, and some of those people are clients. And you're just going to say, no, this is the way it is. I know you want everything for nothing, but it's not going to happen. I had another person who said to me, which was questioning me, our pricing and that sort of stuff. And I said, I'm not ashamed of making a profit. I can tell you right now, I'm going to make a profit from our relationship. And I will continue to make a profit from you, because I'm not going to do this, and you actually don't want me to do this work unless I do make a profit. Otherwise, we've got a short-term conversation, and I'll be out of business. And the person began to understand that. Yeah, and once again, we end up having that client, and I was very upfront with them. Maybe it's an Australian thing, and we've had that client to this day. We had another conversation with a client a prospective client. Ended up meeting at a conference, and we normally take a percentage of the revenue, like a commission, for the work we do. And they said to me, "Okay, so what percentage do you take?" And I said, "We take 90%, and we pay you 10%." And they said to me, "Hang on, that's crazy. Everyone else is doing the other way around." I said, "Yeah, but I forgot to tell you that we increase your revenue line by 1,000,000%. And I said, "What you're actually asking is not what the percentage is. What you're asking is whether you're going to earn more by using our technology." And the person smiled and they said, "Yeah, you're exactly right." And I said, and this is where, as an entrepreneur, sometimes one of the happiest things you can do is cut to the chase, either with a client, with a prospect, and be upfront with people and just say, and simplify your life in that regard. And just say it where it's at. Find your happy place. Be upfront with people. What is your totem? These are the questions that constantly I'm asking about myself. What do you do when your conscience plagues you? We all have a conscience, and as an entrepreneur, what do you do? How do you address that? What do you do when your conscience says you just did something wrong just then? And by the way, if you've never had that experience, it's because you've possibly seared your conscience because you're doing the wrong thing continuously, which is not necessarily a good thing after all. Or the other side of the coin is you're making sure you're doing the right thing all the time, which is great. But let me tell you a story. I remember I was at a conference and we had a major partner there I had a meeting with. And at the end of it, I came away and my conscience said, what you said then could have been construed in a different way than what you thought you said. And it plagued me all night. So the first thing the next morning at the conference, I got up and I headed down and I went up to the guy and I said, look, I just wanted to just clarify the situation to make sure you clearly understand what I was saying. And he did. And he was surprised. And to this day, we still have that partner. We've done probably 30 or $40 million worth of business with them. Yeah, it's being upfront. It's being open and honest. Listening to your conscience. If you want to be happy, don't have a conscience plaguing you. As an entrepreneur, it's very easy to be pushed around by circumstances. Another example, I remember I was running a business and we had a complete disaster hit us. And the disaster was, oh, we're going to have to close this business. And like it was a serious disaster, not of our making or anything like that. And anyway, to cut a long story short, and then I had the opportunity to rescue the whole business. And the opportunity was someone from the pornography industry came up and said, we can use your technology to do some awesome stuff for really bypassing a lot of the filters that parents have on their computers to be able to promote pornography to teenagers and stuff. And it was worth a fortune. They were prepared to put millions on the table. And I had to walk. And you may say that would have been easy. I don't know. You got 20 people in your office, and they're all trying to pay their mortgage and all that sort of stuff, and you're about to tell them they're all about to be unemployed, or you can go along and just bend, from my case, a moral stance in order to be able to rescue that situation. No, I walked. Why? It's because I play for the long term. If you want to be happy as an entrepreneur, think of the long term implications. Another one. I was talking to a guy one time and he shared with me a story and something he managed to get away with, he said. He was an entrepreneur. He said, got away with this. And he was so proud of himself, because he made some money, but he got away with doing the wrong thing. And I said, you didn't get away with it. And he said, what do you mean? I said, but you didn't get away with it. He said, what are you talking about? I did get away. I said, no, you didn't. I said, someone always knows. And he goes, and then you can see, I looked at his face, you can see he found out. And I said, you knew. You knew. You see, when you end up doing something in a expeditious way as such, or you do something which is not strictly kosher, or do something wrong, you always know. And if you don't want to damage yourself as a person, then just don't do it. It's not worth it for the long journey. Remember, the adventure of life is discovering who you are. That's my modus operandi. And so it's, what is it? What is it? What is it that you've got to do? You've got to do the right thing. Yeah, and that's very easy to say, but much harder in practice. Because I understand the stresses and strains of what it means to be an entrepreneur. And I've been on my soapbox for the last little while. I hope you found this is an enjoyable conversation of hearing Michael Gilmour share about his life as an entrepreneur. Yeah, but being happy is often the product of making good decisions in your life. I've only one thing to advise: choose wisely. It's very, very easy to choose badly as an entrepreneur because the bank is on your back, because even family can be on your back because of the pressures of what it means to be running a business is just getting too much, and you choose badly. In those times when you feel like you're about to choose badly, go away. Spend a couple of days sorting your head out, get the vitriol out of your system, and come back at peace with yourself and make the right decisions. And you'd be surprised what happens to your team in that process. Let me tell you, they're going to be right there with you, and they're going to see a difference in you. And rather than snapping at them, you're going to be rejoicing with them, and you'll be working on the problems and challenges together versus having antagonism in your team under the pressures of what it means to run an entrepreneurial venture.
It helps with the
Yeah.
culture as well, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It
They,
does, Yvonne.
there's I heard something today. I was listening to somebody, and they said water. Um, when water is boiling, when it's 99 degrees, it's not yet steam, and then it just takes one little degree, and when it gets to that extra degree, it then turns to steam, and then 80% of the world is powered by steam. And I was like, wow, that is something. Just 1 degree makes such a big difference. And the person said, if you think about your life, oh, sorry, my sister's quite loud.
That's okay, Yvonne. I think you raised up an
So
interesting point, though.
the person then said, if you're thinking about achieving what you want, because happiness is tied to that feeling of what I've done something, I've done my best, and I've achieved. And whether it's an internal thing or an external thing, it's that feeling that whatever we've done, we've been the best that we can be. And through doing that, then that's where we get that sense of peace, that sense of joy, that sense of happiness. But it can only be consistently doing something just a little bit, and then eventually that little bit then gains momentum, and through that momentum then we get to where we want to get to, and therefore we can then be happy in entrepreneur, but happy as a person, because if you're happy as a person, then we can be happy
Yeah,
as an entrepreneur. So I just heard that
absolutely.
that
You're so
then
right. You're so right,
and then
Yvonne. Let me tell you,
yeah,
you are so right.
the other side of that is the one degree of not doing that thing consistently. And it can just be just that little thing that we don't do every day. And we think, oh, you know what, today I'm just going to snooze my alarm clock. And then it becomes a habit. Or, you know what, today I'm just going to tell a little white lie. Nobody will know, like you were saying, Michael. No one will know, because I've got away with it. And then it becomes a little habit. And then before we know it, it's piled on, because happiness is just a habit, it's just doing something on autopilot. And so consistently going the other way just by 1 degree, and we just constantly miss the mark of where we want to be. And then before we know it, we're not happy. Yeah, so I just wanted to add
No,
that to what you were saying.
well, that's so true what you're saying. It's no one ever plans to fail in business. No one ever says, yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to fail. What it is, one little step at a time. One little step at a time. Likewise, no one plans a relationship breakup. It's one little step at a time. It's one little step at a time. Yeah, and it's the accumulation of our small decisions which then impact our big outcomes. It's the accumulation of our small decisions we make as entrepreneurs will then impact our outcomes. For many years, I wrote a blog, and I was invited up onto the stage to be interviewed at a conference one time, and they said to me, the interviewer said, "So, we know you wrote this blog and it's been very successful over many years. So, what's the secret of a successful blog?" And I said, "Do you really want to know?" And he said, "Yeah, we really want to know. Is it SEO? Is it social media? Is it did you buy a whole lot of advertising in a particular way? Was it your banner ads to promote it? What was it that actually made you a very successful job?" And I said, "You sure you want to know?" And you can see the audience leaning forward. Yeah, they really want to know, what's the success? And I said, it's really simple. It's unbelievably simple. Write 2 to 3 articles a week for 10 years. And you can see everyone's grown. Everyone wants a quick fix. They want a quick win. They want something that is like done. It happens instantly for their business. They want that quick success. Very few people want to go and put the work in, the time in. What they don't realize, they're traveling along an asymptotic curve, and they're down the bottom, and feel like they're getting nowhere. But the very next step, the point which they quit, the very next step after is they begin to go up the curve, but they've quit. There was a study done, an ad hoc study that this one was done, of kids in primary school. What do you want to become? And is it a fireman or a policeman? No, they want to become YouTubers. They wanted to become a YouTube stars. And the big difference between a successful YouTube star and a not successful one, the successful ones don't give up. They don't give up. They just keep on going. Like you said, Yvonne said a few minutes ago, they don't give up. Anyway, you've been listening to The Complete Entrepreneur. We've been talking about the secret to a happy entrepreneurial life. And there's lots of different ways, and it's unique for each one of us. But being happy is a product of making good decisions. Next week at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on The Complete Entrepreneur, we're going to be taking a look at removing the stand from the gearbox. Like the gearbox in a car, successful businesses have processes and procedures. But what happens if the gearbox gets filled up with sand and the gears start grinding? How do you oil the gearbox and get the sand out of the gearbox so that your business can really fire forward? Yeah. What do you need to actually do to make this happen? And that's what we're going to explore. I hope you've enjoyed this week. If you're in the audience there and you're saying, "Hey, look, I really enjoyed that," and some of the things you said, just click on my image and you can follow me if you like. I run this each week, and I look forward to seeing you here at the same time at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a wonderful week yourself, and may you be immensely successful and happy in your own business. God bless.